Right now, in the UK today, 1 million young people aged 16 to 24 are economically inactive and labelled a crisis. 1 million. Let that sink in. 1 million. These are statistics we hear so often, they stop meaning anything. To put that into perspective, you can sell out Wembley Stadium over 9 times. And these statistics are included in yet another government report, a headline we aimlessly scroll past. But these aren't just numbers. They're names. They're the Zanes, Amelias, and Kyles of this world, and they have stories. And they're our young people. We label them under the term NEET, standing for not in education, employment, or training. But what if we redefined this acronym together? What if it stood for nurtured, equipped, empowered, thriving? Nurtured, equipped, empowered, thriving. Pretty neat, huh? What if they're not a crisis at all? What if they're the greatest treasure our country has? Because if we want to change this together, it takes a nation. And I know what it feels like to be neat. And I know what it feels like to be labelled, because it happened to me 6 years ago. From the age of 8, I lived and breathed football. I missed 20% of my education, and I dedicated my whole entire life to chasing my dream. Aged 18, I achieved that dream. A professional contract. I was over the moon. I spent 11 years at one club. And that same season, 7 days before it finished, I was pulled into a room, and after a 5-minute conversation, they said, "You're getting released." My whole world flipped. I became neat overnight. I didn't know what my next step held for me. They removed the footballer label that had been placed on me my whole entire life, and I got a new one. Neat. Another statistic, part of the problem. The thing is, I didn't become neat because of who I was. I became neat because the opinions others had of me. I had no further education or employment opportunities, no CV, no personal statement. I didn't know who I was or what my future held for me. And the thing is, when life presents you with problems or challenges and you have little to no or resource, you have to become innovative. You have to become resourceful. You become a scavenger, in the best possible sense. And my good friend Claire Richmond calls this the scavenger mindset. Creativity born from constraint. And let's look at nature's secret scavengers. Bees. They take something that's overlooked, tiny grains of nectar, and turn them into something extraordinary, honey. Something that sustains them, something that sustains us. The thing is, it's never just about one bee, it's about thousands of bees coming together for a collective goal for the common good. The hive thrives because they do it together. That's the scavenger mindset. So small, yet so significant. So what can we in this room learn from bees, and how can we apply that to how we serve our young people? Nurtured, equipped, empowered, thriving. Pretty neat, huh? And too often, our society judges young people from what we see on the surface of the iceberg. Unmotivated, not engaged, irritable, needs. I'm going to share with you some stories that will prove those narratives wrong, from the underserved and the untapped talents that have activated themselves. I want to share with you a story of a person we'll call Kyle, that I've had the privilege of working with. By the age of 18, Kyle had lost a parent. Kyle had been forced to move 14 times, and Kyle had faced homelessness. And if you met Kyle on the street and you said, "Oh, you're right, Kyle," what would you think when you first met him? Loud, immature, irritable, and quite direct. But after understanding Kyle and meeting him underneath the iceberg, what do I see? Relentless gratitude, unwavering resilience, and a determination to show up no matter what. If I ring up Kyle on 11 p.m. on a Saturday night, I said, "Kyle, can you meet me on Sunday morning first thing?" He'll be there. If I present him an opportunity, no matter how big or small, he'll seize it. Why? Because the constant hardship, instability, and being second priority, his whole entire life has shaped a scavenger mindset that seizes any opportunity to carve out a future that no one expected of him. That's the scavenger mindset. And I've been privileged to work with Kyle with the social enterprise that I run called Inspire to Ignite, where we've nurtured him. We've provided the experiences and the skills and equipped him with those and empowered him to reach his goals. And now he's striving for himself. I want to share with you that Kyle has now got 2 regular streams of income. He's looking at setting up his own tech business, and he now gives back and volunteers to other young people in our community. Nurtured. Thank you. Nurtured, equipped, empowered, thriving. And there's thousands more like Kyle that are untapped into your communities that we can activate together, because it takes a nation to see things differently. But unfortunately, our systems are broken. Our education system rewards memorization over innovation. If your creativity is outside of the mark scheme, you get marked down. And to quote Sir Ken Robinson from his famous TED talk, "Does education kill creativity?" He stated, "We're building national education systems where making mistakes is the worst thing you can do." That TED talk is one of the most famous since it was published, achieving nearly 80 million views on the TEDx website alone. That talk was 19 years ago, nearly as old as me. I wish. What's changed? Secondly, our social systems are broken and working in silos where young people are falling through the cracks. I want to highlight a story of a young person named Zane. Zane is 3rd generation of care. He was in the care system for 13 years. And when Zane came into our community and he wanted to work, he found out that if he worked 16 hours or more, the housing association that he lived in would take 65% of his income. How is Zane meant to survive, let alone thrive? And thirdly, our hiring systems are outdated, relying too heavily on CVs and social capital. Measures that say more about your knowledge to place keywords so AI can take you through to the next level and your network than your actual ability. And unfortunately, she went to school during the time of COVID in year 10. So she had no work experience whatsoever, but was expected from society to go into a system being ready. And unfortunately, this is the story of thousands of other young people. A survey conducted in the 2023 to 24 academic year showcased only 1.7% of young people in this country in year 10 received 2 weeks of meaningful work experience. Other research studies have shown that just 4 meaningful employer engagements can reduce a young person's likelihood of becoming economically inactive by 86%. So why aren't we prioritizing work experience? And the result? 1 million young people left behind rather than launched. Because it takes a nation to do things differently. And here are my ideas, I think, are worth spreading. Firstly, community activation agents. What if every city, town, village, hamlet, every household had one person responsible for helping a young person get closer to an economic outcome through education, training, or employment? Secondly, accredited lived experience. So we're now moving from a world where we can accredit lived experience. So just like those that went to Brownies or Scouts when you were younger and you went to do an experience and then you sewed your badge on, we can now do the same with the digital platforms that are building. So the Zanes, Amelias, and Kyles of this world, you can now accredit your lived experience. And I think that's going to shift the way we see our young people. So here's my question. Who was that one person that nurtured you when you needed it most? Who was that one person that equipped you with the experiences and the skills to reshape how you believed about yourself? And who was that one person that empowered you to help you achieve your goals? And what's stopping you from being that person to someone else? Think of one young person in your life or in your community that you could help. Take one action for them and challenge someone else in your community to do the same. Because if we all done that, we wouldn't just help 1 million thrive. We would change the state of our nation. Because it takes a nation to raise a child. And before we finish, I'd like to invite you to do something with me. Underneath all of your seats, you'll see a red thread. I'd like you to take it with your left hand. And by looking at this thread in your left hand, a thread on its own is disconnected, it's separated, it's isolated, it's alone. That's how young people in our society feel. But just like you would do at the dinner table at Christmas, with your left hand, I want you to cross it over your right hand and connect with the person next to you. What we're building now is a new ecosystem. As you can see, this single piece of thread has now become a connected ecosystem. One that can nurture, equip, empower, and help people thrive. And what we've just done there symbolizes what we can do in our communities and for our country. And lastly, I want you to imagine a world where no young person is left behind. A world where every single young person is nurtured, equipped, empowered, and thriving. That's the future I believe in. That's the future we can build together, only if we believe. I want to invite you all to say on the count of 3 with me, it takes a nation to raise a child. And we'll finish this speech in a positive tone and can take this energy forwards to change the nation. On 1, 2, 3. It takes a nation to raise a child. Thank you very much.